Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time once again. It is the Downforce Grand Prix World Series, the Management Racing League, where if you have no steering wheel or pedals, you can still go sim racing. You are the team manager, you pick a defunct F1 team, two drivers who are not racing in Formula 1 at the front end of the field, and see what happens. There are the rules. That's how we've been playing it since the start of the season. We are hopefully going to run a second season for the Downforce Grand Prix World Series, but of course our next big project is going to be the Group C Sports Car Championship Challenge. It's going to be a very exciting one. If you want to get in on the grid and manage your own race team, all you have to do is book your place via PayPal, downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk. Email us as well with which team you want. There are just 5 places remaining for managers that want to choose their team themselves. And we will give you some information via our Facebook page as to which teams are currently available. The 26 spaces in total will all be filled by prospective managers. The first 13 get to choose the team of their choice. 8 of those places have already gone, so 5 remain. And the remaining 13 managers will be given a team at random in our live draw, which is on April the 11th, which is 8 days from now. I'm Jake Sanson, your race commentator for all of these events, and it is going to be an absolutely action-packed day of racing because we are here on the streets of Pau, and an awful lot has happened since our last event, which took place on the fantastic circuit at Brno in the Czech Republic. Since round 6, there has been a balance of performance upgrade given to the bottom 6 teams in the standings, and those are namely Super Aguri, Prost, Simtek, BMS Italia, Midland and 40. There was a lot of rumour circulating the services of Sebastian Buemi from the BAR team boss Tom Butterworth. He has now confirmed that Sebastian Buemi has been demoted to the reserve driver position as Pascal Wehrlein has been given the chance to step into the race seat. Over at Simtek, there's been a shuffle. Marcus Ericsson is gone, and Scott Dixon, IndyCar legend, replaced him after a fantastic run in the Young Drivers Test at the evening of Brno. But Marcus Ericsson was in fact picked up by team boss Ben Johnston over at Midland, and he's been absolutely bombastic and made his 2 driver choices in one fell swoop. He's decided he's had enough of Bernaldi and Bertie and decided to bring in Marcus Ericsson as a ringer, having already scored some points this year. He wants an experienced pair of hands within the team, but has also brought in the Brazilian money magnate Pedro Diniz. So that'll be interesting. There were rumours going around that Anthony Davidson and Alexander Rossi would lose their seats within Minardi and AGS respectfully, but they have kept them for Pau, and their positions are being reviewed following the Birmingham Super Prix, which is the race after this one. And the Group C rules, we needed to make a clarification for the Group C competition. All of the competitors that all the managers can choose a driver, 3 drivers for their team across the 2 cars, because they will be given a 4th one in the live draw on the live draw on April the 11th. My apologies. But all of the drivers they can choose for their team must be over the age of 30 and must have raced at the Le Mans 24 Hours in any class, but have never won it overall. They can be class winners, but they're not allowed to have won the Le Mans 24 Hours overall. That is the stipulation. So, we are very excited about the race that is coming up in front of us. Let's look at the driver standings heading into race 7. And it is Jean-Eric Vergne that leads the title race in front of Kamui Kobayashi, with Marc Genet and Lucas de Grassi still very close in behind. Andre Lotterer and Sebastian Buemi have scored points, although Buemi is unlikely to score any points anytime soon. A big point score for someone no longer on the grid. Paul de Resta and Nico Hulkenberg, and then Bruno Senna, and a tie for 10th position between Sebastian Bourdais and Nick Heidfeld. Then we will see Anthony Davidson and Alexander Rossi, who is now tied with Pedro Della Rosa. 2 points finishes in a row, and you're in for a bit of a shock coming into this one. Timo Glock and Brendan Hartley from Susie Wolf, and then Stoffel Van Dorn, his former teammate Marcus Ericsson, but Van Dorn now lines up with Scott Dixon in the Simtek team, and James Courtney, who scored a few points back at Taupo in New Zealand. Then we have Gabriele Tarquini, Taki Inui and Luciano Berti all on 2 points, the latter no longer on the grid, and Jaime Alguersuari finally got himself into the points last time out, but he's got a much better chance of doing so this time out at Pau. More on that later. Here are the team standings heading into Pau. BAR have a slim lead over Arrows Alfa Romeo. Minardi, AGS, Manor, Onyx and Lola giving chase. The bottom 6, though, were all given a £4 million bonus as balance of performance heading into this part of the season, which means that Super Aguri, Prost, Simtech, BMS Italia, 40 and Midland have all taken massive upgrades, and it's all change coming into this weekend, which means we should have some very interesting performances coming into the race. As ever, we will head down to the green room and we'll talk to a few of our team managers as we get the races underway. Let's have a word. I've gone straight into the green room, and Sam Hall, usually the one who seems to be chatting when I do. I don't know how you do that. It's a skill. But how are things at Manor with your cars on the 5th row coming into Pau?
Yeah, you just broke up on us a bit there, but yeah, things are looking pretty good for us. 5th row lockout. We didn't get the balance power payment because we were, unfortunately, we were doing quite well in the standings. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake up. We don't seem to have been affected negatively too much. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's a track I've never been to before. It should be fun.
And obviously, with it being quite narrow, quite tight, and quite short, there could be some really interesting battles through the field.
Yeah, there could be a lot of passing. It'll be tight. It'll be tough to pass. So yeah, if we can get 2 cars home in the points, I'll be happy today.
Sounds good to me. Let's have a word with Tom Cairns, who's had an amazing time since the last round at Brno. You decided to put your upgrades into predominantly horsepower, but there is a reliability upgrade on the car as well. But after the last 2 races where both Prosts had a chance to get points, and there were 3 points finishes out of 4, pole position for Pedro Della Rosa and 3rd for Jaime Alguersuari. This is a revolution for Prost.
And massively so as well. And considering that, the changes we've made in terms of the brake horsepower and the reliability, I thought would be in the mix for potentially being the top 5 more often. But I didn't expect us to be on not just to get pole, but to get 2 cars in the top 3 as well, which is a massive, massive boost for Della Rosa and for Alguersuari. Now we just need to convert that into a very, very positive race result. And if we do manage to get the race win, which I really, really thoroughly hope that we do, then that would make a great turnaround from where we were at the start of the season, where we had no points in the first 4 races.
Sounds exciting. Let's see what's going to happen. Finally, before the race begins, let's talk to the Super Aguri team boss, Topher Smith. Now, you were in an interesting battle last time out at Brno, because, of course, the car that you were battling with was the Lola, and you had equal points going into the last round, and whichever team outscored the other wouldn't be entitled to the £4 million upgrade. Fortunately, Heidfeld had a problem. Was that tactical, or was there really a genuine chance to beat them last time?
I mean, I don't think there's anything tactical about a reliability issue. You can't exactly plan for that sort of thing. I'm not the sort of team boss who's going to deliberately...
Yeah, there have been conspiracy theories. There have been theories.
I've heard the theories. I have heard them, and I rebuke them. I don't buy into them at all. My team is here to race. We're here to win. Whatever's happened has happened so far. We happily took the 4 million anyway, and what we've done is put that money forwards towards reliability. In order to finish first you must finish. We need to start finishing a few more races. We need to get some points on the board.
That's very true. The qualifying pace has been there, but the results have not yet. Hopefully today's the start of something for you guys. Good luck. Good luck to all of our team managers. It should be an absolutely rip-roaring race. So, the Grand Prix de Pau is quite a special event, and as always, we like to go round the circuit for a flying lap before racing actually gets underway, and who better than the man who's put it on pole position, Pedro Della Rosa, taking us around the streets of Pau, a flat-out straight into the very fast right kink, and then a heavy brake for the first big hairpin on the circuit. It's a right-hander. Then you climb up the hill alongside the plaza up towards the supermarket precinct up the top there. You climb up to the top and then underneath the bridge. And this is a very tight hairpin. You have to sort of turn into it halfway through the hairpin, as it were, and then through the next right. This is a very tight hairpin. We should see a couple of drivers trying for a brave move or so. Then you come past the casino, flying through this left sweeper, And it's a long, long way through to this right-hander as well, but it's very quick in these Grand Prix cars. You've got to be patient on the throttle, down into the chicane, left and right. Very easy to get this wrong, or we could see a few suspension failures or loose wheels in this race as a result. Through that left sweeper and then into this tight right-hander, and then it's very nearly flat on the throttle all the way through. You're flat through here, a little blip of the throttle through this sequence of chicanes. It's a very quick sweep, and then you're back on the power onto the start-finish straight again, and De La Rosa bails out of the lap after a great run. It's a fantastic circuit and an absolutely brilliant run, but it's not easy to get right. Here's the starting grid for the Grand Prix de Pau, the 7th round of the championship. Pedro De La Rosa on pole, Timo Glock still quick in second on the starting grid from Jaime Alguersuari and Nico Hulkenberg. Then it is Stoffel Vandoorne along with Kamui Kobayashi, and then we have Jean-Eric Vergne and Scott Dixon. Lucas Di Grassi and Brendan Hartley are there in the top 10. Pascal Wehrlein in his first drive for BAR, and then we have Marcus Ericsson moving across to Midland. Nick Heidfeld and Paul Di Resta from Sebastian Bourdais and Marc Chenet down in 16th. Pedro Diniz makes his debut for Midland in 17th from Alex Rossi in the AGS. Bruno Senna and Andre Lotterer round out the top 20 from James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini. Then Anthony Davidson and Susie Wolf down there. Taki Inui and Jean-Denis Delatraz in the 40s are still at the back, but look at the gap now. It's 1.4 seconds covering the whole field. Hang on to your hats. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic race. It's a slightly shorter race than we're used to, 65 laps around this particular circuit, and it takes just over a minute to complete, so it will still be a tough race. And it's De La Rosa from Glock, Alguersuari, Hulkenberg and Vandoorne. There is Pedro De La Rosa from pole position. Will he get a good start? Let's find out. And more importantly, let's race at Pau. It's a great start from Glock, who's trying to get a good start straight away initially. Kobayashi trying to pull alongside Hulkenberg, and immediately a cracking start. He's already got himself into P4. With an absolute flyer of a start, and the field works its way through up into the first couple of corners, and they come through that first station hairpin, a little bit of a heavy braking zone through the first hairpin, and now back on the power. It looks like the two BARs are together. That looks like an absolutely thrilling start from Pascal Wehrlein. Either that or a horrific one from Vergne. It's the latter. Oh, the manners have come together. The manners have come together through the hairpin, and that's gone terribly wrong for Lucas Di Grassi. He's the one who's come off worse. They nudged each other through the left-hand hairpin, and now the field is working themselves back up through the speed. In through Casino, in past the Casino, through the long sweeping left-hander. Cars are getting much faster through that section, and now it's De La Rosa out in front that we're still watching. An absolutely cracking getaway from the Prost. It's the first time all year that Pedro De La Rosa has led. He's had no luck at all from the most part of the early season in terms of finishing races, but he's been fast enough to challenge for the podium all season long. But in qualifying, he has managed to bang it on pole position and comes through at the end of the first lap with a 1 minute 8.9, and that is the fastest lap. It's only the first lap, don't forget. So these are quick laps. It's going to be a pretty fast race here at the Grand Prix de Pau. So along the straight they come, up towards the hairpin. You get pretty quick in these Grand Prix cars, and you have to slow right down for the next hairpin. You'll see a few drivers trying a move or two as Hulkenberg tentatively has a look at the new boy Scott Dixon, and Anthony Davidson has let both of the 40s go through. So issues there for the Minardi as the field gets back up the order. But they are coming through that tight station hairpin now as they come up towards the higher point on the circuit. You climb up through this particular section and then tuck through. This is a very interesting part of the lap, and it's an amazing circuit. You don't really know until you've been here, which I have on an occasion before this race. It is a wonderful city, and walking and driving the circuit, you really get a proper sense of just how incredible this event is and just how much hard work goes into putting a race like this on. De La Rosa completes the second lap, a 105.9, to stretch out 2.9 seconds over his own teammate Alguersuari, who's up to second, and Van Dorn's up to third. So a cracking start from the Simtech. There he is. Van Dorn up into third position. He's another driver who's had the chance to win so far this year. Almost got the victory at Taupo. Only a slight electrical glitch before his final pit stop is what held him up and cost him about 5 to 6 seconds. Otherwise, he would have been the race winner. And now he's got a chance here in third position in front of Kobayashi and Glock. In sixth place, it is Dixon, the new boy in at Simtech. That is the IndyCar legend, Scott Dixon, who has tested, of course, in Formula 1 before, and therefore is eligible for this season. Hulkenberg, Hartley, Wehrlein in the BAR for the first time. And then it is De Grassi. 11th place is De Resta. Then it is Jean-Eric Verne down in 12th. Marc Genet up to 13th off the start, as Delatraz is pulling away from one of the BMS Italias. I'm fairly sure that is Tarquini at the back. Oh, and there's a car smoking up in the front, and it's one of the 40s. It's Taki Inui. Oh, well, they've made some big improvements to the car, but not enough to get through this race by the look of it. And Taki Inui is trying desperately to put the fire out by driving, but unfortunately Taki Inui is going to have to pull that 40 off the circuit. Pretty sharpish. It's game over for him, and that's a real shame. He was looking pretty good, but he's putting all sorts of oil down on the circuit for the two cars behind, as Tarquini and Delatraz make their way past Taki Inui. And I'm afraid Inui's race is well and truly over. He's going to pull off, I'm sure, at the hairpin. He does indeed. So Taki Inui is the race's first retirement, much to the dismay of team boss Dave Goddard. Oh, and Heidfeld! Heidfeld having an issue there. Heidfeld having all sorts of problems as he battles with one of the Lolas. So Heidfeld is trying to get himself back up to speed here as he duels with Susie Wolf. But Heidfeld having a problem or two. And it does look to me as though Heidfeld is struggling these days. He started initially quite well, but over the last few race meetings, he's really had a problem or two. Now, here's Marcus Ericsson. Switched teams in between races. He was at Simtech. Now he's moved to Midland when Ben Johnston decided to pick him up. So this is going to be a really exciting battle for supremacy. But De La Rosa leads his teammate, Jaime Alguersuari. They are 1 and 2 at the moment. And I should point out that so far this season, not a single team has had a 1-2 finish over the course of this year. So that would be quite the result. But De La Rosa leads Alguersuari, then Van Dorn, Kobayashi and Glock. There's some good battles going on further back as Marc Genet shuts the door on Alex Rossi. Sixth is Dixon from Hulkenberg, Wehrlein, Hartley, De Grassi. Oh, Nick Heidfeld really struggling again as Wolf gets through. Now, they were supposed to have fixed these handling difficulties, but Heidfeld is still having problems in that car. And by comparison to Timo Glock, who is up the road, right up at the front end, he's really struggling, is Nick Heidfeld. But the drivers in the field are still trying to knit their way around. Stoffel Van Dorn is trying to get rid of the arrows behind him and has managed to open up the taps and start to pull away a little bit from the orange arrows behind. Flat through that right-hand kink, and that's a really tough part of the circuit to get wrong. If you do, you're going to go straight into that wall as Anthony Davidson, a little puff of brake dust as he tries to get further away from the two drivers behind and start to close up on James Courtney in front. So some fascinating battles as they go into lap 6 here at Pau. De La Rosa is your leader from Alguersuari, Van Dorn, Kobayashi and Glock. And I can tell you that the next round of the championship, of course, is going to be the Birmingham Super Prix. And that'll run on Monday. And we actually have 2 races back-to-back. There's going to be a Celebrity Pro race where we'll introduce the drivers that are going to be competing in the Group C Challenge next time out. Oh, there's a slowing BAR. One of the BARs is slowing. It's Jean-Eric Verne. He's got an electrical problem. There is the confirmation. And he's trying to bring the car back to the pits. So no repeat of the victory twice already this season from Jean-Eric Verne. He's going to have a real problem getting that car back to the pits. And then obviously overtaking is rather awkward and rather difficult here. So can Jean-Eric Verne make it back to the pits? He is the championship leader. So it's quite important for him that he makes it back. He has won twice now, Jean-Eric Verne. He won at Bathurst and now, of course, recently won in Brno. So Jean-Eric Verne bringing the car into the pit lane. Now, this is going to be an interesting one. What will they do in terms of fuel strategy? He's staying on his one stopper because there's no point filling up with fuel. He's just going to be a sitting target. 8.8 seconds to get the car sorted. Oh, all sorts of difficulties there as he tried to get going again. But De La Rosa is your race leader in front of Jaime Alguersuari as Anthony Davidson shakes off the attentions of the BMS Italia behind him there. We're on board with Bruno Senna in the Onyx. So difficult through that fast-flowing section of the course. That's the thing. This is a tough circuit, not just because it's tight and twisty, but also very fast here at Pau. And you have to have an awful lot of mechanical grip to make this one work. We could see several cars out of the race in this one. And we're going into lap 9 as Pedro De La Rosa continues to lead the way. There is Kamui Kobayashi. We're in lap 8, actually. Oh, and that was Glock trying to get past Kobayashi. And he had to bail out of that one at the last minute. So Kamui Kobayashi in 4th position. He is also a twice winner so far this season, the Japanese. He won the first round of the championship at Kyalami, and then he won at round 5 on the very challenging and very technical Estoril circuit. So that put him into the lead of the championship for a short time. Werner's taken it back again after his win last time out at Brno. But now a host of street circuits in Europe. First Pau and then Birmingham. And as they climb up to the right-hand hairpin, it's going to be a very exciting run as they get back on the power. Through to the left-hand sweeper. Andre Lotterer and his teammate Alex Rossi in the AGS, struggling for one-lap pace so far this weekend. I say struggling, but then you have to remember that the entirety of the field is covered on this circuit at about 1.4 seconds from qualifying. So there's not much between the cars here at all. The balance of performance has definitely helped in terms of equalising and neutralising the field, and that's exactly what they were hoping to do. And that was the purpose of it. The lowest 6 teams in the standings were given a balance of performance. Oh, Timo Glock tries to dive up the inside of Kamui Kobayashi, and now they lock wheels, and Kobayashi's going off on the curb and has lost ground to Hulkenberg. Wow, that's an interesting one, and it looks as though Dixon got through as well. Let's have another look at it. And we're going to go on board with Timo Glock for this one. So Glock decides, rather last minute to go for it. There was a little contact between both cars there, and Kobayashi running off and had to let Scott Dixon in the Simtek go through. Fascinating situation, but well, I don't know if that's that could well be looked at, as Tarquini now has a look underneath his teammate James Courtney, and Brendan Hartley having a look as well. So very interesting battle going on here at the front end of the field. And here are the two Manners trying to get after Pascal Wehrlein in his first race as a BAR driver. Quite strict and draconian what Tom Butterworth has said about Sebastian Buemi. He demoted him basically to... Oh, Rossi's had an incident. Let's have a look and see what happened. Oh, he's lost it very deep into the corner. He's basically... Rossi has gone a little bit too fast in a very tricky section of the course and has dropped it at a very awkward point on the course. So that's a very surprising mistake for Alex Rossi. And there was a rumour going around, of course, that his AGS seat was basically up for grabs, but they couldn't really release him from his contract until a certain point in the season, and so Rossi rejoins, having dropped back behind Verne. Well, an interesting one, and we're told that the race officials are investigating what happened last time out. Race officials are investigating what happened with Timo Glock and Kamui Kobayashi. I should also point out that there was a penalty originally given to Nico Hulkenberg pre-race that was going to be a back-of-the-grid penalty. They appealed and it was overturned. So it was one of those interesting situations, but there is going to be a penalty handed to the team a little bit later on in the season, we're told. So that is... Oh, there's smoke up the road. And that's Alguersuari! Alguersuari in second place! Oh, Jaime Alguersuari in second position has got smoke coming out of the back of the car. Engine problem. It's quick, the new Ford power unit that they've updated, but it's not reliable yet. And Alguersuari, sadly, out of the race. So that is game over, I'm afraid, for Jaime Alguersuari. And that is devastating bad news for the Spaniard. I was just going to reiterate that, yes, Hulkenberg's back of the grid penalty was overturned, and it is the team is still going to receive a penalty, but it is not the penalty that was first planned of going back to the grid. So that is going to be taken care of later on. But big problems for Alguersuari. I don't think he can believe it. That's the problem. He's still out there on the circuit. He just wants to keep going, Jaime Alguersuari. And that is a big problem for the Spaniard. Smoke billowing out of the back of the car. Dixon's going to get through here. And now finally Alguersuari's had to give it up. And he pulls off the road. That's such a shame. It was looking really good for Jaime Alguersuari up to that point. He was in second place and looking good for his first podium. But unfortunately, the engine failure strikes at the wrong time. Marcus Ericsson in the Midland, having a little bit of a hiccup there. So problems with the competitor. Now on that note, I've just been informed that Nico Hulkenberg will actually start the Birmingham Super Prix from the back of the grid. That's the reason. So Hulkenberg's penalty will be a back of the grid penalty, but it will be at Birmingham, not at Pau. And I think there were many reasons. There was a couple of conversations as to why that's happened, but essentially Hulkenberg will be starting the Birmingham Super Prix from the back of the grid. That's where he gets his penalty. The race officials have just handed that decision to me. So De La Rosa is your leader. Van Dorn is now second. Glock in third. Hulkenberg is fourth in front of Scott Dixon in the Simtek. His debut for the team. Then it is Kobayashi in front of Pascal Wehrlein. Brandon Hartley. And after Brendan Hartley, we've got Lucas de Grassi and Paul de Resta. And then it is Marc Genet from Pedro Diniz and Bruno Senna. Marcus Ericsson in the Midland. Then Bourdais, Lotterer, Heidfeld, Wolf, Davidson and Tarquini. And then we have Courtney, Delatraz, Verne and Rossi after their incidents down at the back with Alguersuari out and Inouye out. A real shame for Jaime Alguersuari though, because that was going to be their race for the taking essentially. They were 1 and 2. So a fascinating battle pursuing so far. And there is the Lola making the bid up the inside of the Lola. Alex Rossi missing a gear through the hairpin. It's one of those races where someone's in trouble up the road. Is that Delatraz? It is Delatraz in the 40. The same fate as his teammate Taki Inouye. They made a massive update coming into this round of the championship. The cars are much faster, but clearly Inouye and Delatraz pushing them just a little too fast. And Delatraz pulls up at exactly the same place as his teammate Taki Inouye. Oh, and Marcus Ericsson. Whoopsie daisy. Marcus Ericsson loses the car completely through the right-hander. And that was not what Ben Johnston wanted to see from his new charge. He's replaced both Enrique Bernoldi and Luciano Berti for this race. And wanted to take a pair of hands that had scored points in the season. So Marcus Ericsson being dumped by Simtek seemed like the perfect choice. But Marcus Ericsson has got more problems, this time at Midland. So now it is De La Rosa from Van Dorn. Timo Glock is third. Hulkenberg is in fourth place. And Scott Dixon is in P5 in the Simtek. Paul de Resta having another go at the manor. Oh, he's actually nudged him. And de Grassi remains firm and vigilant. No, you don't. Well, there was a conversation about Glock and Kobayashi earlier on. Glock and Hulkenberg, I think it was earlier on. No, it was Kobayashi, because he lost ground. And there is an investigation going on about the Glock-Kobayashi incident, because Kobayashi not only got nerfed aside by Glock, but Kobayashi lost several positions. Oh, and that's Brendan Hartley. Hartley makes the mistake over the chicane and gets back on in front of the Lola and nudges him sideways. Goodness me, Hartley getting it all crossed up in front of his teammate and only loses a place. But that was very, very nervy for Brendan Hartley. So, big moment there in the race as Marc Genet had a little bit of a moment of his own there, just in front of Paul de Resta. And then Pedro Diniz is in behind. De Resta's having a go at Marc Genet, the man who won at Taupo. De Resta, had to bail out of that one in the end, but that was very, very close. So, a very interesting situation in the midfield, as well as there is up front. And all sorts of battles as De Resta tries again on Genet and commits to it. Oh, and Genet goes up in the air and damage to Marc Genet's car. Well, that's definitely a worse incident, essentially, than the Glock Kobayashi problem. Kobayashi lost places, but Genet's going to have to come into the pits to repair the car. So the Minardi team will be very disgruntled about that manoeuvre from Paul de Resta. And that is almost certainly... Oh, De La Rosa's out! De La Rosa's out, the race leader! A puncture for him! Pedro De La Rosa is out of the race. He's picked up a puncture from the lead. And that is devastating. Prost lost 15 laps total. And that is absolutely heartbreaking. But it hands the lead of the race to Simtek's Stoffel van Dorn. He now leads. But it's absolute agony. And this man, Paul di Resta, is now under investigation from the stewards for his manoeuvre on Marc Genet. Pascal Wehrlein rubs the wall. And I can tell you that Timo Glock is under investigation as well for his manoeuvre with Kamui Kobayashi. So very tricky. Absolutely very nail-biting stuff here. Van Dorn leading. Glock in second, Hulkenberg third. And we are told by race officials that Timo Glock will be investigated, the incident between him and Kamui Kobayashi after the race, and likewise between Di Resta. Oh! And another one potentially between Bourdais and Senna. Well, Bourdais backs out of it. Senna just about hangs on to it, but Bourdais nearly took his teammate out there. But there is definitely going to be an investigation into the incident between Paul di Resta and Marc Genet. So Glock is under investigation, and so is Paul di Resta. But incredibly, both the Prosts are now out of the race as Timo Glock pits in from P2. Now this is scheduled. Scheduled pit stop for Timo Glock. Now the big question, 2-stop or 1-stop? It's a 2-stop for Timo Glock. They've all decided that on the streets of Po it's going to be a short strategy. And out onto the circuit goes Timo Glock. He almost missed the gear as he rejoined actually, but Pedro Diniz has gone through into P9. And Timo Glock rejoins in P10. There's Jean-Eric Verne trying to make his way back up the field again in 20th position, and Bourdais pits. That is scheduled, so that is one of the early drivers to make a pit stop. Clearly trying to jump his teammate Bruno Senna by making an early stop. Times are hard for Jean-Eric Verne by the look of things. But what an absolutely thrilling situation this Grand Prix is turning out to be. But a disastrous one for Prost. 1-2 and both cars out. Oh, Hulkenberg pushes very hard in the chicane trying to close up on Stoffel van Dorn. And how about this for a debut? Scott Dixon finds himself in third in the Simtek. So it's a 1-3 for the team at the moment. Well, Alex Goldschmidt, team boss of Minardi, has written in that he's far from happy about the officials' decision to review the incident post-race. Well, unfortunately, in-race penalties are very difficult to police for the Grand Prix. But obviously, Marc Genet is not going to be very happy about the situation. Paul di Resta's punishment will need to fit the crime as Gabriele Tarquini pits it. Oh, and that's one of the Lolas. That's Susie Wolff. Susie Wolff's in trouble. Car on fire. They did a lot of work on the reliability phase of the car in the update, but unfortunately it looks as though it wasn't enough to keep the cars from breaking down. So Susie Wolff is now the latest driver to retire from the race, and that's a real shame for her. She's been trying to get back in the points since the start of the season. But Susie Wolff now pulls off at station hairpin up at the top on the right-hander. And the Lola is out of the race. So Susie Wolff rejoins the retirements. Now we've got a pit stop and it's the race leader. Stoffel van Dorn comes into the pits from the lead. So Dixon goes through to the lead because Hulkenberg has pitted as well. Not a bad stop coming in here from Simtek. They need to get it right. And that's an absolute flyer of a stop. 7 seconds from the Simtek team. Hulkenberg is in pit road as well. And he's had to wait for Di Resta. So that is absolute heaven sent for Van Dorn. Not only did they get a super fast pit stop of just 7 seconds. Very quick in these cars. But also, there was a hold up for Hulkenberg at the pit stop. Now, Dixon is your leader. His first race in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series, and he now leads, although of course he is net third. And up the inside of Hulkenberg, that's a brave lunge from the AGS of Lotterer, but clearly Lotterer was in a similar situation there. Bail or commit, and he realised he was far too far alongside and had to let him go. And Rossi's going to make the bid up the inside of Diniz and decided against it in the end. Wow, fantastic battle so far. This is an absolutely thrilling race so far here on the streets of Po, as we are on lap 20 of 65, 1/3 of the way through, and there is Pascal Wehrlein in the BAR, who is currently in net P5, I think. Because obviously he's in third at the moment, but he has yet to make his first pit stop. Fascinating situation. I'm going to go down into the pit lane, actually, and speak to a few of my team managers down there in pit road in the green room. But there's one I really didn't want to have to speak to quite this early about the outcome of the race so far. And that, of course, is poor Tom Cairns and the entirety of the team down there at Prost. Let's have a word with Tom Cairns. Tom, the car is so quick. And Pedro de la Rosa and Jaime Alguersuari definitely up to speed. But again, the cars just haven't had the reliability. You must be devastated from first and second.
Well, it couldn't get any worse than that. I know I've said that numerous times throughout the season where, both cars not finishing can't get any worse. But to actually lead 1 and 2 throughout most of that and to have it taken away through what looked like an engine failure to Raul Suarez and then a gearbox issue or something related to that for De La Rosa. It's a massive, massive blow because De La Rosa was pulling out an 8-second lead on everyone else. And I think he was trying to build up his lead for when he made his pit stop, really, which is a massive, massive blow. Now, no points, but I mean, we get the pole position point, which 1 point is better than nothing. But we've got to come back stronger at the next race in Birmingham.
Well, a real shame that we're talking to you this early about this situation, Tom. Apologies. We've just seen James Courtney going off the road and damaging the front nose, so not great news for BMS Italia. Scott Woodwis is down there in pit road. You've got a smile on your face for the first time this season. It's looking good for, not just for Scott Dixon, but for Stoffel Vandoorne as well. What a brilliant first pit stop from the crew.
Yeah, great stuff. I have to say, it's a nervous smile because I know what we've been like this first sort of 5-6 races, so I'm not counting my eggs before they've hatched yet. I know we've got a long way to go in this race, but yeah, all the work we did in improving the engine, improving the reliability, we put a lot of work into that for this second sort of third of the season. And yeah, Dixon has taken off straight away, which is incredible, and to lead his first race is unbelievable. Yeah, cracking stock from the boys to get Stoffel out in clean air. He's in P6. I think he's in a really good position, but I'm cautious because I know how our races have gone before, so I'll let you know exactly how it feels, I guess, when we get to lap 65, depending on where my cars are. And if we've got still both of them running, because of what's happened before, I'll be delighted. But let's wait and see. There's still a long way to go. Still a lot can happen. So I'm not saying this race is over yet, because there's still a lot that can happen, and usually does in this championship. But I'm cautiously happy, but we'll wait and see. Okay,
thanks, Scott. Good luck to everybody. Well, fascinating times. And obviously it was always going to be a very tricky phase of the race. And Ed Hunter writes on YouTube, Courtney tried to go down the wrong street, surely. He did miss his braking point and certainly ended up in the escape road, so that didn't exactly help him out. And Kamui Kobayashi pits in from P2, so that's an important one. Heidfeld still looks like he's having some difficulties with that Super Aguri. Pascal Wehrlein in the pits as well. So Kobayashi and Wehrlein both in together. And that promotes Vandoorne up into P4. Now the two cars are going to come out together, and Wehrlein exits right behind Kobayashi. So that is the race continuing on in earnest. But there's your race leader at the moment, Scott Dixon. His first race, and he is there currently in the lead. Now he has stretched this first stint a little bit further than some of his opponents, but he is going to be coming into the pits in a couple of laps. De Grassi has yet again decided the one-stop strategy is the best way to go, as has teammate Brendan Hartley. So the Manners have clearly felt that at Pau, you only need to make one pit stop. It's a short circuit, so there's a good chance for them. But Vandoorne is closing up. So it's going to be a really exciting battle for the drivers up front. Alex Goldschmidt has pulled me up on my pronunciation of escape. Have you never heard of an escape road? I did mean to say escape, of course. I'll Control-Alt-Delete that last comment. Pedro Diniz battling away there in 14th place with Andre Lotterer as they sweep through the right-hander up towards the chicane. A great battle, and it's still wonderful to see these guys dueling away for position in this Downforce Grand Prix World Series, the Fantasy Management League, using Jeff Crammond's Grand Prix 2. If you're just tuning in for the first time, this is a league you can take part in when we do our Group C Sports Car Championship. Something to keep you busy and excited through lockdown. You don't need a steering wheel, you don't need pedals, you don't even need a version of the game. You just need to choose a team, pick the team you want to race with, and you can go racing. We'll give you details on our Facebook page. Just like and subscribe to us at Downforce Racing on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. And who knows, you could be one of the team managers battling for supremacy in the Group C Challenge. But Scott Dixon, IndyCar legend and one-time test driver in Formula One, leads the battle up front. He is there in front of Lucas Di Grassi and Brendan Hartley. The two manners going on a one-stop strategy, but it seems, as they battle away for position. Kamui Kobayashi going long in this sector, in this stint. Hulkenberg decided a one-stop strategy was the way to go as well. Nick Heidfeld in the Super Aguri is imminently coming into the pits, as is Bruno Senna. And Timo Glock has decided to go for a short strategy as well. So obviously there's some battles going on all the way through this field. Great to see the new cockpit graphics as well, bringing things a little bit more up to the modern day. We do call this the Minecraft of motorsport. The graphics come from 1995, and it's wonderful to see them back again. Many people won't have seen these graphics since that time. Wehrlein up the inside of Lotterer and nerfs him aside. Pascal Wehrlein nerfs his way past Lotterer. Phil Kinch, team boss of AGS, is not going to be happy about that one. But that was a very decisive manoeuvre, and impatience creeping in there from Pascal Wehrlein as he nudges the AGS aside and takes the position. Scott Dixon pits in from the lead. So that's an important one. Let's see how the pit stop is going. Looks like the Simtech team have really been on their game in terms of their pit stop strategies. Going long in this second stint for Scott Dixon. Putting a little bit more fuel into the car. 9 seconds, that's pretty good. That's as fast as it needs to be. And now we go with Brendan Hartley. It's a 1-2 for Manor now. Di Grassi and Hartley are 1 and 2, and they are on a one-stop strategy. So Stoffel Van Dorn is 3rd, Glock is 4th, and Dixon is 5th. So it's going to be interesting if Manor's one-stop strategy is going to work for them. We saw obviously the Prost team having an amazing run, 1 and 2, up at the front end of the field in the early stages. Pedro de la Rosa and Jaime Alguersuari. Alguersuari then had an engine failure, and sadly Pedro de la Rosa succumbed with a puncture. Absolutely unbelievable. And JK Maz is watching along. He wrote a "what on earth is this" kind of comment first of all, and then said, out of all the sims, this classic, you guys are truly my people. I'm definitely joining. You're more than welcome to, my friend. All you have to do is like and subscribe to Downforce Racing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And we'll give you details. If you want to get on the grid, register your interest by emailing downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk. And we'll tell you all the details. There's plenty of team managers who can show you in the chat box how to get involved and how to sign up. So Di Grassi, Hartley, Van Dorn, Glock and Dixon is the way things are running at the moment in the top 5. There's Alex Rossi having another lock-up through Pau. Got himself very crossed up there through the right-hander. Absolutely fantastic. Edward Hunter is actually cheering along. He's signed up for the Group C Challenge. He's going to be running the TWR Jaguar team. And he said, I've just dug out my 143 scale model of Simtech from the cupboard. Come on, Stoffel the Waffle. And he is out in front at the present moment. Well, he's in 3rd, I should say. Lucas Di Grassi and Brendan Hartley have taken over 1 and 2. Oh, Nico Hulkenberg! Oopsie daisy! And Hulkenberg's gone way too far there. That's a very similar incident to what we've seen so many times at Pau over the years. And he's just overshot. Now, that's what Courtney did. But I'm afraid Hulkenberg really has cost himself dear there. Tried to get going again. Oh, no, he's made a real hash of it as well. He's now facing the wrong way. And now the rest of the field are going to have a bit of a job to avoid him. Yellow flags are out there now, so now they know that Hulkenberg is there. But he's in a very precarious situation. And I think there goes any chance at all that Nico Hulkenberg might have had of winning the Grand Prix de Pau. He tried to get the car spunter. There's not a lot of room to manoeuvre that car. And he's actually put it into a worse position. And now the AGS has hit him. Oh, well, that's gone terribly badly wrong. Well, so Hulkenberg is now further out of position as Rossi was the one who nudged him. Now, has he got damage? No, he doesn't. So, no damage there. And that's very good news as far as Alex Rossi is concerned. There's Hulkenberg still trying to recover. And he's not managed it now. If he's not careful, the marshals are going to take this over for him. I was going to say, the second I say, if he's not careful, the marshals are going to clean him up. They seem to get going again. So, a big problem, unfortunately, there for Hulkenberg. And he has now dropped to 21st. And last place. Oh, he's had another problem. Hulkenberg's messed up again. It looks like he's got all sorts of issues then. What's the matter with Hulkenberg's car? Well, it looks as though he's just dropped it too far. He was on a one-stop strategy, so he was trying to make it work, but I'm afraid Hulkenberg really has gone and binned it. While Susie Wolff is out, Pedro de la Rosa, Jean-Denis Delatraz, Jaime Alguersuari and Taki Inui all out of the race. 2 40s, 2 Prosts and a Lola. All the others are still going. And through they come. Through the sweepers at the first corner. Degrassi leads Hartley. Yellow flags are out by the look of it. And that's because Diniz has spun it. Pedro Diniz has gone off at the first corner in his debut. So Pedro Diniz making his debut in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. He's going backwards to spin turn the car. Has managed to got it going again, but now he's got to wait again for more cars to go through. Oh, Pedro. What a shame. Well, that's definitely a headache for Pedro Diniz. So he's now got to try and get himself back up the order, as Hulkenberg is trying to make up for his earlier misdemeanor with some quick lap times. But it's a very difficult situation. Let's see if he's going to be very much up at the front end of the field in the following races. He's certainly not going to score many points here. But Degrassi and Hartley up at the front end of the field. So Degrassi, Hartley, Van Dorn, Glock and Dixon. Topher Smith writes, Pedro Spinnies. And Dave Goddard says, classic Diniz, come back to 40. Well, he certainly can't for a while. He's with Midland now. Hulkenberg. We're watching him now because I think he's still got issues with this arrows. Ed Hunter thinks I should be in Poetry Corner for my comments about him. What's the matter with Hulkenberg's car? Well, it looks as if he's dropped it too far. I know, it's very Joycean, isn't it? Kobayashi in 6th place, his teammate, in front of the likes of Verline, Lotterer, Ericsson and De Resta. Ericsson could get a few points here, struggled to put them on the board for Simtek, but he could get 2 points on the board for Midland if he stays in 9th place. Lots of difficult situations. It's rather a shame to see that Minardi have kind of fallen off the pace a little bit, but they did choose to spend their prize money for the last 2 races on reliability. So hopefully the cars can get it to the end of the race, which is what Manor are hoping as well. They put a little bit into the horsepower of the engine, but predominantly they want to make sure their cars get to the finish. And a 1-2 for Manor would be absolutely heaven sent from their point of view. Degrassi and Hartley have both come close to a victory this year, but have not quite managed it. Van Dorn, though, in the Simtek is catching them, and he's in 3rd place on a lower fuel strategy. But he has to pit one more time, as do the Manors. So Van Dorn's got to make good use of the lighter fuel load to pull away from the Manors when they make their pit stops. Glock is 4th, Dixon is 5th. Andre Lotterer getting it a little bit wrong as he drops through the chicane. And then through the right-hand hairpin. And you drop down the crest, down the hill at this point. It's a fabulous racetrack here at Pau. If you've never been in person, I guarantee you'll fall in love with the place. And during the Pau Grand Prix 10 days, they go absolutely bonkers. Because they have the Grand Prix, and then 7 days later, you'll have to plan this for 2021 for obvious reasons, obviously. But 7 days after the Grand Prix de Pau, they have the classic Grand Prix weekend. So the whole city comes alive for 10 days. If you want to get away for a 10-day vacation and you're a petrol head, I can recommend Pau very highly indeed. As Hulkenberg tries to get back up the order, and he's savaged up the inside of Lotterer. Now, surely that's the 2nd transgression for Hulkenberg in as many races. He's got to be very careful about how he treads in this racetrack, because Hulkenberg has already dropped it and he's unlapped himself from Lotterer. Wehrlein's in trouble. Wehrlein's in trouble. Gearbox failure for Pascal Wehrlein on his debut for BAR. So Pascal Wehrlein, just beyond half distance, is now out of the Grand Prix de Pau. And that's devastating bad luck for Pascal Wehrlein as Timo Glock comes into the pits. Hang on a minute. Why is Glock coming in? That's very early for a 2nd stop. I think he's had some problems, you know. I think Glock had a problem. And it looks as though they've had an issue with his fuel rig as well. He's only got 20 laps of fuel in the car going in. So I can't believe they would have scheduled a 3-stop strategy. I think Glock had a problem. So Glock has come back into the pits. And that's dropped him down the order. So that has effectively made it Manor 1 and 2, Simtek 3 and 4. When the Manors make their pit stop, it should be a Simtek 1-2. But Glock with problems. On board with Degrassi. There was a lot of anticipation coming into this weekend. So Sam Hall writes, Hulkenberg crashing while unlapping himself. Surely looking at a race ban on top of this back of the grid penalty now. Well, definitely the race officials are going to need to look into it. So this could be a very interesting situation. Well, Arrows did announce after their young driver test that they were going to have Guido van der Garde sign up for the team as a reserve driver. So maybe Guido van der Garde may get called up, maybe get forced to call up for a one-race ban for Hulkenberg. Emma Butterworth has already mentioned that she's going to be having words. She is the team boss of Arrows. So already some issues there. But you never know. Even Dave Goddard has suggested, look, he's quite happy to donate Jean-Denis Delatraz in place of Hulkenberg for the next race. I don't think that's a serious offer. Oh, and Timo Glock! He's done it again! And now he's done it to Marcus Ericsson at the hairpin. Marcus Ericsson trying to get back into the race. He's in 7th now, but that's twice in one race for Timo Glock. And I'm afraid to say that that's definitely going to be a major transgression on the half of... on the part of Timo Glock. Topher Smith is going to have words with his driver as Van Dorn pits in now. So maybe they've decided on a... Well, I can't believe that's a 3-stop strategy. But Van Dorn is into the pits. No, it is a 3-stop strategy. He's obviously burnt the fuel so quickly around this circuit. There is an issue here with... It looks like there is an issue here with fuel depletion. So we're looking back with Marcus Ericsson. Van Dorn rejoins, and he'll rejoin in 5th. But Ericsson has rejoined right down at the back of the field, it seems. That is James Courtney in front, and Ericsson has rejoined in 19th place. Well, that is 2 incidents now for Timo Glock. Wow, that's interesting. Well, Topher Smith says, karma for Marcus Ericsson, turning in on Glock. Well, that's interesting. He sees it obviously as a very different incident, but that is the second type of incident that Timo Glock has been involved with. So we'll have to see what the race officials say about that one, but that's now Glock under investigation for 2 incidents, Hulkenberg under investigation, and De Resta under investigation. So all sorts of drivers colouring themselves in glory, not necessarily of the right kind either. Stoffel Van Dorn pushing hard, careful. Oh. He nearly lost it big time there. Van Dorn has now got Timo Glock bearing down on him. So Glock is going to have a look. He's going to dive for the inside line. Oh, and Glock's rubbed the barrier. He's got to be so careful. We saw at Marrakesh drivers rubbing the barrier and ending up with loose wheels as a result. So Timo Glock has got to be careful. He's already had one incident with Marcus Ericsson following his earlier incident with Hulkenberg. So he's got to be very careful now. So Timo Glock... And apparently we are being told that Timo Glock is going to be handed a penalty for 2 separate incidents in the race. So that is a fascinating situation. It is going to be a very interesting situation. Now, Degrassi's into the pits. Degrassi's in for his pit stop. And he's going to go to the end of the race. So it's a long stop for Degrassi. Dixon goes through to take the lead of this particular battle. Hartley is leading the race altogether. Degrassi gets out. Now, Kobayashi's gone through. And Degrassi gets out in front of Van Dorn. Now, that's fascinating because I'm not sure what's happening there with the Simtech strategy, but Van Dorn, I don't think he's got enough fuel to get to the end of the race. So, a couple of incidents there where Van Dorn, I think he's going to have to go another pit stop. Fascinating stuff. But I don't think everybody is going to be able to make it to the end of the race on a simple strategy. Kobayashi is running there in 3rd position. We are being told that there are fuel problems at Simtech. There were fuel problems at Simtech, and there was an electrical problem at Super Aguri. So, an issue with the fueling rig for Stoffel Van Dorn at his pit stop meant that they did not fill him with sufficient fuel, as Brendan Hartley now pits in. So, Brendan Hartley now comes into the pit. I think there's an issue for the Arrows, you know. Kamui Kobayashi got it a little crossed up. And now Marcus Ericsson, who's trying to unlap himself, is getting onto the toe of Kamui Kobayashi in the Arrows. He may decide to dive up the inside and take a place away. But Brendan Hartley rejoins and will rejoin in front of Van Dorn. But yet more bad luck for Van Dorn. Topher Smith says, Glock getting a penalty for getting turned into. Wow, okay then. He doesn't seem particularly happy about it, but that is the second issue that Glock has been involved with. There will be an investigation, and obviously they can appeal the decision if they can show video evidence that they feel that they were turned into rather than pitching a car off the road. There is absolutely no problem with appealing a penalty, and it's a much quicker system than you get in other forms of motorsport. So Dixon, Degrassi, Kobayashi, Hartley, Van Dorn is the order. And Hartley's got past Kobayashi. Kobayashi's in trouble. Kobayashi's in trouble. I thought there might be something going wrong, but Kobayashi seems to have had an issue somewhere. Oh, he's gone off. That's exactly the same problem Hulkenberg had. He's done exactly the same thing. So Kobayashi just going too deep into the chicane, and that's put Degrassi up to second, Hartley to third, Van Dorn up to fourth, and Glock has gone through to fifth place. So a big mistake for Kamui Kobayashi. So Scott Dixon now leads the race. Fascinating. And Anthony Davidson in 9th position in the Minardi. He started P24. Has rocked his way... P23 I think Davidson started from. Has rocked his way up the order. And Davidson in the Minardi has now been to 9th position. So he's just kept on going on, basically. Lotterer is 11th. Rossi 12th from Jenny, Bourdais and Tarquini. Then it's Verne. And then Courtney, Ericsson, Diniz and Hulkenberg after his spin. Retirements from Verline, Wolf, Della Rosa, Delatraz and Alguersuari. Andy Newey and now Marc Genet. Marc Genet with an engine failure. The Minardi's pulled off the road now as well. Disastrous. Marc Genet is out. Oh, and Tarquini trying to join them if he's not careful. Goodness me, Tarquini locking up through the S's. We did think that Pau would be a tough circuit for them. And we're definitely being proven right. Wow. Fascinating situation. But it's Scott Dixon that leads the race. So, as far as Simtek are concerned, they got Dixon's stop correct. Well, oh, Van Dorn's had a mistake. Van Dorn's made a mistake there in the chicane. Let's have a look and see how he did it. Oh, he did it a while ago, in fact. So, we can't even see the replay. Too long ago for a replay. But Van Dorn has made the mistake exactly the same way Hulkenberg and Kobayashi did. So now Van Dorn trying to get going again. A fascinating situation. But unfortunately for Van Dorn, it's ruined Simtek's chance of a victory. And I'm afraid Van Dorn only has himself to blame for that one. The pressure getting to him, obviously the fuel issue earlier on. It's dropped him down the order. He's one of the others to have made a mistake in this one. He keeps going without damage, but it's now Scott Dixon, the new boy, in at Simtek. This is his first ever Grand Prix. Can I just point that out? Because he never got the chance to race in Formula 1. He was a test driver. Now, Tom Butterworth has written, I love the banter of this series. BAR engineers have been summoned to an emergency meeting to ask whether the reliability upgrades were all made out of cheese. Oh, bless you, Tom. We love the banter. It's all good. So, Dixon leads. Degrassi second. Hartley third. And Glock fourth. And James Courtney spins. Well, big difficulty for the former Supercars champion. A very tricky moment there. And I'm afraid to say that James Courtney has made that mistake already. Oh, and he's been hit. He's been hit by Kobayashi. Kobayashi in the arrows has hit him. Devastating. That's Kobayashi coming into the pits for repairs then. And James Courtney is still stranded at the scene. But Kamui Kobayashi is now having to come in to repair the car. What a crazy race this is at Pau. Absolutely. Oh, and now hit by the Lola. De Resta's hit him now. Well, that's devastating. And here comes Stoffel Van Dorn. He's going to get past him. Well, Courtney has been pushed out of the race then. So Courtney is off the circuit. Been hit very hard indeed by Paul De Resta. And out of the race. So Van Dorn has actually been gifted a position there because Kobayashi came in and De Resta came in. So that's Van Dorn up a couple of places. But James Courtney is out of the race as a result. And Dave Goddard says a head-on shot worthy of a banger racer there. I think both of them were. De Resta properly gave him some. We're on board with the race leader, Scott Dixon. He's got a handful of laps to go before his pit stop. And although his teammate has had problems, Dixon looks pretty good here. He's never driven in a Grand Prix, although he is a 5-time IndyCar champion. So he knows how to deal with problems. And he definitely knows how to cope with the issues around him. And Tom Butterworth is saying what we're all thinking. This race is bonkers. Absolutely right. They did think that Pau was going to be a tricky one. Well, I think... Well, there's going to be multiple incidents to review here. Di Resta's under investigation. So is Hulkenberg. So is Kobayashi now. Glock is obviously under investigation. No official confirmation of a penalty. Phil Kinch says, is Pau a suitable venue for the Downforce Grand Prix World Series? Lots of incidents caused by stranded cars. Well, it was announced as a great opportunity to bring Premier Grand Prix racing back to Pau. Perhaps not. We'll have to figure out whether it was the right decision after all. So let's see how it goes. And Sam Hall, Di Resta under investigation for multiple incidents and crashing into multiple stationary cars, asking for a friend as Tarquini pulls off a water leak for the BMS Italia. Both cars out in the space of a lap. So that is devastating news. Courtney out, Tarquini out now. No points for BMS Italia today. And that's a real shame. Tarquini was looking good up to that point. Was on the verge of the top 10. Oh, and that's a nudge from the AGS. That's Phil Kinch nudging Davidson aside. And Andre Lotterer, perhaps a little bit of guilt there as a result of that. Oh, Rossi getting past his teammate Lotterer. Lotterer getting it crossed up. Rossi gets through after nudging Davidson. Davidson has a throttle problem. That's why he was having difficulties. So Davidson comes into the pits. And that's Anthony Davidson with a problem with the car then. So that was not his fault. Now he can refuel to the end of the race. He's not done yet then. So there's still opportunities for Davidson to get some points on the board here. Especially the rate that the drivers are dropping out. Fascinating situation. Let's go down into the green room once again. Because we've got some team bosses there who are wanting some interesting results from this race. I'm going to head down to the green room and have a chat with a couple of our team managers. So let's have a word with with Sam Hall, the team boss at Manor. Sam, it's an interesting strategy that the Manor team have gone for, a one-stopper, and with Degrassi and Hartley in second and third, you must be a little nervous.
Yeah, well, we've not had a 1-2 from anyone in the championship this year, or even two cars on the podium. So we're quietly confident. The one-stop strategy was our only option, given that we didn't have the funds to drastically increase reliability or our power. So yeah, we're everything crossed in the garage at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Let's have a word with Topher Smith. Topher, a bit of a topsy-turvy race. Heidfeld's still plugging away. Timo's got himself into one incident and had another incident happen to him. How do you feel things have been going so far?
Well, I think, as you said, it's been a topsy-turvy race for us so far. Heidfeld's had a bit of an anonymous race so far, just been quietly plugging away, trying to get himself up into the points. As for Glock, he's driven a very strong race so far. As for the incidents that he was involved in, I'm not going to get too much into it, but all I will say is, from my point of view, it looks like he was turned into rather than him causing the incident. Okay,
thanks, Topher. Oh, and Alex Rossi's had a crash. Rossi has crashed at the chicane. And that is at the same time as Bruno Senna's pit stop. So a big moment there for Lotterer. So Lotterer has gone off, I'm afraid. And that is a big incident from his point of view. Oh, sorry, that's Rossi, not Lotterer. Rossi. So Rossi has gone off at the chicane and damaged the car. He's tried to get it going again. So a big issue there. But once more, Scott Dixon avoids the problem. Get an IndyCar driver who's got plenty of experience on street circuits, don't forget. Scott Dixon is turning out to be quite a find. Into the pits he comes for his pit stop. Now, this is a scheduled pit stop, so it's all going according to plan. Now, hopefully Simtech have sorted out their fuel rig issues that plagued Van Dorn. And yes, it looks as though they have got it going properly this time for Dixon, who is starting to look more and more like a potential race winner here. 8.9 seconds. He goes back out on circuit. Timo Glock is third. And the two Manners are up the road in front of him, but Glock has the faster car. Dixon rejoins in fourth. Degrassi leads the way now. So Degrassi, Hartley, Glock and Dixon. Heidfeld is fifth, doing a fair job for Super Aguri. Then Van Dorn in sixth position. Oh, bit of an issue there for Degrassi on the throttle as Davidson gets crossed up at the hairpin. Kobayashi 7th, Senna is 8th, Lotterer is 9th, and Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx is in 10th position. Then we've got Jean-Eric Verne in 11th place for BAR. De Resta is in 12th place from Davidson, Diniz and Hulkenberg. And then we have Rossi and Ericsson. Everybody else has retired from the race. The Minardi needs to get out of the way of the leaders. Oh, this is a tricky situation as Van Dorn locks up at station hairpin. And Timo Glock is getting quite frustrated there. Was there an issue for Glock? I think he had some kind of problem. Hartley got through on Davidson. Glock struggling, and Glock has got one more stop to make, of course, so Dixon is likely to grab a podium place away from him. We just heard from Topher Smith, Super Aguri team boss, adamant there that both the incidents Timo Glock was involved with were drivers turning into him. So, fascinating situation, but we'll have to see what happens after a post-race investigation. Heidfeld is in the pits. So Heidfeld pits, Glock is not going to be far away from that, and that's going to promote Van Dorn to 5th position. When Glock pits, I have a feeling it's going to be Dixon in 3rd, and it might be Van Dorn in 4th place. After his earlier off, that is not bad going. So Degrassi, Hartley, Glock, Dixon, Van Dorn. But Van Dorn had fuel rig problems. He's not fueled to the end of the race, so he's going to need a quick splash and dash before the end of the race, whatever happens, really. But Glock and Dixon are still in this hunt behind the two Manners. 8 seconds covering the top 4. It could be a very similar incident to what we saw. Heidfeld dives up the inside of Verne, and Verne causes him a little bit of a headache in getting through. Well, that was a brave move from Heidfeld. But I don't really see anything particularly wrong with that one. Heidfeld making a move, and obviously the door was left open there by Verne. So Heidfeld got the move, and Verne was trying to hold him back, but I think Heidfeld made that one work okay. So no major issues there for Heidfeld. Davidson, meanwhile, is holding up the other Super Aguri. The Minardi. Frustrating Timo Glock, who's wanting that Minardi to get out of the way pretty sharpish. And has not really been satisfied with it so far. And Bruno Senna is out, we're told. Bruno Senna is out of the race. Something's happened to the Yonex. Let's see if we can find him. There is Bruno Senna, and it's a suspension failure. I did think those were possible in this race. So I'm afraid Bruno Senna is now out of the race from what was P6. Big disappointment for the Onyx team. So points gone for Bruno Senna. That is a real shame. And so now they're going to have to continue on as Lucas Di Grassi leads the way. Sam Hall really does like stirring the pot. The team manager at Manor is writing on the chat box. Alex Rossi crashing. It's a shame AGS decided to change their mind and keep him on. Oh, the banter is beautiful in this championship. Timo Glock, 3rd position. Behind Hartley, there is Pedro Diniz in 13th place. He's having his debut race as well in the championship, having replaced Luciano Berti in the Midland team. And they took on Marcus Ericsson when Simtek decided to part ways. So the Midland team have a bit of experience in both cockpits, but obviously Diniz spent 6 years in Grand Prix racing, driving for 40, for Ligier, for Arrows, for Sauber, and then for Prost. So Diniz has plenty of experience behind him. And Marcus Ericsson obviously has more recent experience within the cars. So De Grassi leads by 3 seconds to his teammate, the Kiwi Brendan Hartley. And they continue to battle away. Glock is 3rd, Dixon is 4th, from Van Dorn in 5th place. Then it's Kobayashi, Lotterer, Bourdais, Heidfeld and Jean-Eric Verne. Championship leader, only 10th today. De Resta is 11th from Davidson, Diniz, Hulkenberg and Rossi. And then it's Marcus Ericsson in 16th after his thrills and spills antics earlier on. Plenty of retirements. Senna, Tarquini, Courtney, Genet, Verline, Wolf, Della Rosa, Delatraz, Alguersuari and Inui. And still, they rumble on lap 50 of 65. 16 laps to go. And we feel that there's going to be a couple of cars that will have a splash and dash before the end of the race. I think it's Van Dorn who's going to need another pit stop due to a... Oh, Diniz is in trouble. Diniz is in trouble. We saw him earlier on. The director must have seen something we didn't, but the Midland is breaking down. So Diniz will not reach his final pit stop. Diniz is out of the race, I'm afraid to say. Scott Dixon in P4 is going to the end of the race now. Timo Glock's going to have another pit stop, so their strategy hasn't quite worked out. And De Resta comes in from 11th, having had all sorts of incidents in the race already. Bourdais is in from P10 as well. So all sorts of battles around the circuit as we watch Timo Glock. And sadly, as we know, it's game over for Pedro Diniz in the Midland. He is out of the race now. So the debutant is not going to get to the finish of this race at Pau. He was out of the points anyway. Edward Hunter writes, street circuit, competitive field, chaotic incidents. Has this turned into Formula E? It's not quite. It's the Grand Prix World Series. Very different category. Very different category. And Alex Goldschmidt writes, one thing the Manor team boss forgets is that the rock he is currently under might not protect his drivers. Oh yes, good old banter. It's never far away. So 9 seconds covers the top 4. Degrassi, Hartley, Glock and Dixon. Van Dorn is in 5th. And then in 6th position is Kobayashi from Lotterer, Heidfeld and Verne. Then Bourdais, Davidson, De Resta, Hulkenberg. Verne has made a pit stop. So Verne is into the pits, and Heidfeld, oh, it sounds like he's got a gearbox issue there. Box full of neutrals into the first corner, but he manages to get it together again. Well, that was a pretty scary moment for the Super Aguri team and Nick Heidfeld. Well, the race officials have now decided that all incidents that need to be investigated will be investigated after the race. They will be reviewed, and there are several of them that need to be reviewed. Namely, Paul Di Resta at Lola for a couple of incidents during the race. Kobayashi has an investigation, so does Hulkenberg, so does Glock. And Verne is trying to get up the inside of, I think that was one of the Onyxes. And I really wanted to see how that worked out. They're still side by side. Oh no, it's Verne and Dixon in 3rd position. Verne was trying to unlap himself from Scott Dixon, who is now in 3rd, courtesy of the pit stop for Timo Glock. So Glock has rejoined in P4. Let's see if we can find him. There he is. So Glock will now go the distance. Van Dorn still needs to pit from P5 for his splash and dash. And he should be able to rejoin in 6th position. Heidfeld is in the pits. Oh, Timo Glock! Well, I thought there was a problem there. He just came off the throttle. Goodness me. That was a bit of a dramatic moment. I thought we were going to have one of the Super Aguris dropping out then. Certainly that's usually the engine noise that signals a big, big problem. Heidfeld is in the pits and rejoins in 12th behind Paul Di Resta. So Paul Di Resta is now in 11th position. Heidfeld back out in 12th. He's really struggling in that Super Aguri, to be fair. And Hulkenberg pits in from 15th. What a miserable race. Now Van Dorn's come in for his splash and dash on lap 52. On the end of lap 52. So I would say that's good call from Van Dorn to do it as early as possible to increase any chance of getting a point or two more. And Lotterer goes through into 6th position. Unfortunately, Van Dorn's off at the chicane. Really has prohibited him from getting a victory today. It's the first major mistake Van Dorn's made all season as a driver. Rossi in 13th place after his earlier problems. But what a crazy race this has been for Pau. It's definitely caused some headaches for a few teams out there. So far, though, for Manor and for Simtech, they've had their issues, but it's still all guns blazing. For Degrassi and Hartley at Manor, it's a 1-2, and they have not had that. No team has had that so far this year. So Lucas Degrassi is looking at a victory, if he can hold on to it. Hartley in 2nd place. Dixon is 3rd from Glock, Kobayashi, Lotterer and Van Dorn. Then it's Bourdais, Verne and Davidson who are looking at points. In front of Di Resta, Heidfeld and Rossi from Ericsson and Hulkenberg. And they are the only other cars finishing in this race, the way things currently are. 15 cars running. Diniz, Senna, Tarquini, Courtney, Genet, Verline, Wolf, Della Rosa, Delatraz, Alguersuari and Inui are all out of the race. Well, a fascinating scenario then here, once again, as the field drops its way through the chicane. It's Lucas Degrassi leading the race in front of... Oh, no, sorry, that is Brendan Hartley, my apologies, in 2nd place. The Kiwi running well there in P2. With Scott Dixon in the Simtech in 3rd position. For Scott Dixon, that would be his first podium on his first appearance, and certainly Simtech's first ever podium. So, really exciting run. Up through the hairpin once again, and powering up the hill, up towards the hairpin. That is Nick Heidfeld, who is down in P12, trying to fight back up the order. And Brendan Hartley in P2 at the moment. Did Tom Butterworth just call his man Jean-Eric Verne the new Luciano Berti? Surely he can't be making bombastic accusations against the championship leader and his lead driver. They have got another driver knocking about. It's Kazuki Nakajima, of course. But then British American Racing do things a very different way to other teams. They're going to have 2 celebrity guests at Birmingham Super Prix next time out. They'll have Ricky Bobby and Cal Norton Jr. in their cars around the streets of Birmingham. So that's going to be very interesting. There will be some great celebrity drivers in the Super Prix next time out. And there'll be 2 races around the streets of Birmingham. That'll take place on Monday. But Degrassi leads Hartley, Dixon, Glock and Kobayashi. Lotterer is 6th from Van Dorn. And then we have Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx in 8th place. Then Jean-Eric Verne in the BAR. And Davidson in the sole remaining Minardi in 10th position. And then we have De Resta in the Lola, Heidfeld in the Super Aguri, Alex Rossi in the AGS, in front of Marcus Ericsson in the Midland, and Nico Hulkenberg in the Arrows. Down and dead last after his moments earlier on. And then you can see there in the top left corner of your screen the retirements. 10 laps to go. The Grand Prix de Pau has already had enough thrills and spills to last an entire season. But there's still 10 laps remaining. There's still a good opportunity for these guys to have a bit more of a race of it. With only half a minute between the top 5, anything could continue to happen here on the streets of Pau, this gorgeous Pyrenees city. So through comes the Arrows. That is Kamui Kobayashi, twice winner in the championship. One at Kyalami and then one at Estoril. But Degrassi leads the way from Hartley. And this man, what a performance from Scott Dixon in 3rd position in the Simtek. A great decision to come and race in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. And Degrassi's got a loose wheel! Degrassi with a loose wheel! The victory is gone! The victory is gone for the Manor team! Certainly for one of their drivers it has. And Lucas Degrassi is going to pull off in front of his teammate. Brendan Hartley, that's held him up big style. And now Dixon senses that the victory is on. Lucas Degrassi pulls off. And with a loose wheel, the dream dies for Lucas Degrassi. Absolutely incredible. With 9 laps to go, Degrassi is out. And now it's Brendan Hartley who leads from Scott Dixon in 2nd. And he's chasing after him. There's a 1.5 seconds in it between these two as well. Well, this is fascinating. Timo Glock is now 3rd in front of Kamui Kobayashi. And in 5th position is Andre Lotterer from Van Dorn, Bourdais, Verne, Davidson and De Resta. Heidfeld, Rossi, Ericsson and Hulkenberg, the only other finishers at the moment. But we've got a showdown. Brendan Hartley versus Scott Dixon. That is absolutely incredible. So Brendan Hartley leads the race from Scott Dixon. Then Timo Glock in 3rd, Kobayashi in 4th place, and Andre Lotterer up to 5th in the AGS. What an absolutely astonishing race this is turning into be. What an absolutely crazy battle this has become here at Pau. Brendan Hartley, who was leading, if you remember, at Kyalami at the start of the season, and ended up having an off. Brendan Hartley may be about to get the Manor team's first win. And that would be absolutely incredible. So let's see if Brendan Hartley can hang on. Still a 1.5 seconds in front of Scott Dixon, who is in 2nd place on his debut in the Grand Prix World Series. Absolutely amazing. The Minecraft of motorsport has really thrown up another thriller. And Nico Hulkenberg desperately trying to keep going despite the fact he's had a real lock-up there through the S's. But Hartley versus Dixon is going full guns blazing. And the Kiwi, Brendan Hartley, looks like he's about to get his first race victory. 2nd place would have been good enough for him. He would have been quite happy with a P2. But now it looks as though he's going to win after his teammate had a loose wheel. There's Scott Dixon. 1.7 back, so Brendan is trying to pull away. Dixon trying to come back at him. Essentially, they're now just working each other to try and get the other one to make a mistake. Hartley locks up in the S's at the end of the lap, but he's not going to bin it. Not if he can help it. Back on the power, over the start-finish straight once again. And flat out through that right-hand sweep. Got to get that just right. And then into the first corner. 6 laps to go. Dixon is catching Hartley. The gap down to 1.4 seconds. Are we about to see a showdown finish? Oh, a retirement from Glock. Glock is out. Glock is out. There he is, pulling off from third. Engine failure for Timo Glock. The Super Aguri is out. Well, whatever penalty he might have been given, it makes no difference whatsoever now to the finishing result for Timo Glock. And the engine fails for Super Aguri. That is devastatingly bad luck, as Timo Glock is now wheeled away, craned away from the circuit, I should say. And that promotes Kamui Kobayashi to third position, Lotterer to fourth, and Stoffel Van Dorn back into fifth position. Wow, more drama. Now, I'm not sure, considering we're on lap 50, well, we're on lap 60, 6 laps from home. I'm not sure that Glock will be classified as a finisher, retiring with that many races, with that many laps to go. Well, disappointment. Disappointment. Edward Hunter writes, I think Scott Dixon can win this. Scott Woodwis will be hoping so. He is catching Brendan Hartley. The gap is down to 1.4. Kobayashi is 27 seconds back. Lotterer is fourth. Van Dorn is now fifth. In sixth place is Bourdais. Then it is Verne, Davidson, De Resta and Heidfeld. Then it's Rossi, Ericsson and Hulkenberg. Still they drop out of the race towards the closing stages. We've got 5 laps to go. Under the bridge. Oh, Kobayashi! Careful, Kamui! He nearly joined them in the wall there. Goodness me. Well, Kamui Kobayashi just saves the bacon there for the Arrows team. Emma Butterworth has already stated her intent to talk to both drivers after the race. But Kamui is looking good for third position now. Lotterer fourth and Van Dorn fifth. But Brendan Hartley, there's your race leader. Under pressure from Scott Dixon. Where is the New Zealander? There he is. In second place. This is going to be a very tough race to hold on to. Alexander Rossi in 11th position, trying to stay in it. Obviously having all sorts of issues with the AGS at the moment. Incredible to think that at Marrakesh they were 1 and 2, the AGS cars. Hasn't been that way since. And they've been trying to get back up to speed. But Brendan Hartley is just 4 laps away now from winning the Pau Grand Prix. Anthony Davidson in 8th place. He's got pressure from De Resta. These guys are actually battling for position as well. It's worth bearing that in mind. So De Resta's going to have a go at Davidson up the inside. And that's a lovely overtake from Paul De Resta into P8 for the Lola. So he gets through there into 8th place. No issue at all for him. Davidson 9th. Heidfeld is catching them in 10th place. Just 1 point coming the way of Super Aguri, the way things are currently stacking up. 6 points for BAR if it stays like this. Jean-Eric Verne is in 7th place. And he's had a, well, I have to say, a very miserable race compared to what we see from him. He's not enjoyed Pau at all. But Brendan Hartley continues to lead in front of Scott Dixon. And they're on lap 62. Here is Brendan Hartley about to go into lap 63. 3 laps to go. And Dixon is still just a second and a half back. Now, up the road from them, that is one of the Onyxes, so that has got to be Sebastian Bourdais, who is in 6th position. And surely Bourdais isn't going to give too much of a trouble to Brendan Hartley. Absolutely incredible situation. This will be a really exciting battle right to the finish here. And the Kiwis, as have been pointed out, are first and second. As Dave Goddard writes, probably the last time a Kiwi was first and second in a Grand Prix of any kind was Denny Hulme and Bruce McLaren. Oh, and Bourdais in front of the leaders, overshooting and breaking the front wing. And Hartley and Dixon narrowly miss him. Well, that's embarrassing for Bourdais, because through goes Verne, up into 6th position. And Bourdais makes the mistake. De Resta goes through. Davidson and Heidfeld both go through. And I'm afraid to say, that is not good news. Oh, and Hulkenberg's car is pulling off. Engine failure for Hulkenberg in the end. Well, he had a difficult race anyway. But that has well and truly put the kibosh on it. So Hulkenberg is out. And just as Bourdais had his accident as well. So Bourdais going to have to come into the pits. There is Bourdais up the road from us. Hulkenberg is out. Bourdais peels off into the pits, and that puts Lotterer into the points. That puts Alex Rossi into the points. So both AGS cars are likely to score points now, with only Ericsson and Bourdais out of the points. Everybody else is retired. 2 laps to go. And there's Stoffel Van Dorn in P5. The Simtek going well. But unfortunately, he had his fuel rig issues that dropped him down to 5th place. He could have been a contender for the victory in this one quite easily. But through no fault of his own, he had problems with the fuel rig. And then trying to make up the lost time, he then ended up going off the circuit. So this is going to be absolutely fascinating. Sam Hall now asks, how are Hulkenberg's inevitable penalties going to be applied? We'll have to find out after the race. But into the last lap goes Brendan Hartley. Kiwi number 1 is Brendan Hartley. Kiwi number 2 is Scott Dixon in 2nd place. So this is going to be an absolutely fascinating situation as Brendan Hartley tries to bring it home with just 1 lap remaining. And Sam Hall has never been closer to a race victory than this. But Scott Dixon for Simtek is right there in 2nd place. And it's been an absolutely heroic drive from both men. The New Zealanders, the Kiwis, 1st and 2nd here at Pau. And that is an absolutely exceptional race run from both men. Into the final few corners of the race. 65 laps are pretty treacherous here at Pau. It's not the longest race on the calendar, but it's definitely one of the most tortuous. And here comes Brendan Hartley. Out of the hairpin and through the final few corners. Surely he's going to make it home. Out through the final couple of corners, and Manor have been waiting for this all season. They're going to get the victory they so richly deserve. Brendan Hartley wins at the Pau Grand Prix. Scott Dixon in 2nd for Simtek. Fantastic race from both men. What a debut for Scott Dixon. Heroic racing. Jean-Eric Verne is 6th place for BAR, albeit a lap down. And that is fairly embarrassing for the championship leader. De Resta 7th, Davidson 8th, Heidfeld is 9th and Rossi 10th to come home in the points. Ericsson finishes 11th. And here comes Kamui Kobayashi, 3rd place for Arrows. A rather crazy race, but 3rd is his reward. And here comes Andre Lotterer, winner in Marrakesh, now coming through for P4 on the streets of Pau. He really does love a street track. And Andre Lotterer comes home in P4 for AGS. Bourdais crosses the line in dead last. And Stoffel Van Dorn comes home in 5th. But Brendan Hartley is your race winner. Absolutely fantastic for Manor. Well, they get the victory that they richly deserved and were hoping for. There is the confirmation. Brendan Hartley takes the victory in front of Scott Dixon in the Simtek, and Kamui Kobayashi in the Arrows is 3rd. 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 as Andre Lotterer crosses the line 4th for AGS. A big points haul at last for Simtek with Stoffel Van Dorn in 5th. Verne is in 6th place in the BAR. Then De Resta, Davidson, Heidfeld and Rossi round out the points. And only Marcus Ericsson and Sebastian Bourdais finished the race on the road, although it looks as though Hulkenberg and Glock are both going to be confirmed as classified. They completed enough laps to be classified. All the others retired. Degrassi, Diniz, Senna, Tarquini, Courtney, Jenny, Verline, Wolf, Della Rosa, Delatraz, Alguersuari and Inui all out of the race. A very dramatic case of affairs. And an absolutely sensational race. We knew it was always going to be a tough one here at Pau, but I don't think anybody envisaged just how tough it was going to be. Let's go down to the green room and talk with our team bosses. Sam Hall, team boss of the Manor squad, there at last. It took 7 races, but Brendan Hartley is a winner. How about that?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be lying if we said that we didn't expect that at all. As I said before the race, we didn't get the balance powers payments, so we thought we were going to be slipping backwards. 9th and 10th on the grid. To be in with a shot of a 1-2 with 10 laps to go, that was, we were really happy with that. And still to get the win, over the moon. I mean, gutted for Lucas, but we're over the moon with that result.
And I have to say, a very exciting race it was as well. Can you guys go and get the job done at Birmingham now?
I'm hoping we can, but obviously I think we're still in the same position that we were before. We're not expecting much, but obviously we'll take results like this all day long. More of this in Birmingham, please. Fantastic. Congratulations to Manor and Sam Hall. A win at Pau. Let's talk to Topher Smith. A very interesting situation for Super Aguri in the end there. Timo Glock with a guaranteed podium staring him in the face and the engine blowing. A crazy day for Super Aguri.
It was looking good there. We invested a lot in reliability, especially after the young driver test. And yeah, I was actually feeling quite confident that Timo was on for his first podium. But once again, reliability strikes, and looks like we might not have put in enough work. So yeah, we'll take the lessons from that. It was good to see Nick finishing the race, albeit down in ninth, a lap down. He's been a bit off the pace again. He's really struggling with the setup of the car. So we need to talk to him about that. We need to find out how we can get the car to suit his driving style better. And yeah, I mean, the pace is clearly there. We've been running at the front in a lot of the races so far this season, but just not getting the results.
Okay, well, unfortunate for you and the team, but hopefully you'll be back to your best next time out on the streets of Birmingham. Let's have a chat with Tom Cairns of the Prost team. Tom, a great opportunity for De La Rosa and Alguersuari. You've already talked at length about how difficult it is in terms of luck, but you can take solace from the fact that not only did you get pole position from this race, but thanks to Pedro De La Rosa, you also got the fastest lap. So a very important performance there from Prost and a sign of things to come.
Yeah, well, the fast lap point is very good as well. It underlines the improved performance of what the Prost car has had this week, in today's race, in comparison to what happened in Brno. I mean, De La Rosa did have the pace in Brno, but we knew that there was a distinct pace difference between ourselves and the likes of Arrows and BAR. So we knew we needed to step up in terms of performance. Now, I know some people will assume that I haven't put anything on reliability. I have. It just obviously wasn't enough. But I'm hoping next time out in Birmingham, it won't. The same result won't be repeated for them. We are aiming for a positive result next time out in Birmingham anyway. Ideally the win, but who knows?
Fair enough, Tom. Thanks very much, and congratulations for getting the car fast enough. Hopefully you get to the finish at Birmingham. And finally, let's have a word with Scott Woodwist, team manager of the Simtek squad. There was a point in the race when it looked as though there could have been a race victory there, Scott, but I have to say, your boy Scott Dixon putting in a fantastic job there to get second place, just a second and a half off the victory in the end. And Stoffel, despite his mistake, in fifth position. Big points for the team. Scott, I think you might. There might be a slight sound issue with Scott. Oh, that's better. There we go.
It would help to talk properly. But yeah, I think, well, it's a sign of it. Just I think if Sam was happy, I'm elated. It's a mixture of elation and relief after that, because we had some tough times in that first sort of third of the season, but all the work that we did between the last round at Brno and Pau has really paid off. I couldn't be happy with Scott's pace. I'm delighted that he got a second place. A win would have been only a little bit sweeter, but second's great, and Stoffel getting a top 5. I'm delighted with how the car is right now. Hopefully it's not just a one-off. Hopefully all the work that we've done is going to carry over into Birmingham and go forwards, because we know that obviously by round 10 there's going to be more catching up with more balance of performance. So I think we've now got to start just grasping this opportunity that we've got now with the car we have underneath us to make the most of it, and hopefully going to Birmingham to get a good result. But yeah, I'm delighted. I'm delighted, very relieved. I'm happy that we've also got a driver of a calibre of Scott who can get up there and even be up there challenging at the front for race wins. Stoffel's continued to prove himself, and yeah, onwards and upwards to Birmingham. I'm excited to see what can happen. Still a bit cautious, but I'm happy all the work we've done hasn't been in vain. And yeah, let's hope the second half of the season brings some good results.
Fantastic stuff. Congratulations. The first podium for Simtek. It was always coming. Fantastic stuff. So that is it for the Grand Prix de Pau. Carnage, chaos and absolute banter. Well, that was the Grand Prix de Pau. And it's a win for Manor after an absolutely heroic run. Join us on Monday. The next race in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series is around the streets of Birmingham. The Super Prix is back. I'm Jake Sanson. All right.